yourself to, you know, doctor, lawyer, teacher, and that's great if you want to do that. I don't mean to disparage those, but there are so many super fun things out there. Expose yourself to different opportunities, you know, take volunteer things, see what you can expose yourself to and see what you might like to do. But that said, I work at an insectary. So any ideas what an insectary is, chat it in the chat. I'd like to see if anybody knows what we do at an insectary. Any thoughts? Any thoughts at all? All right. Well, so we grow insects. And you may ask yourself, why on earth would anybody grow insects? So in agriculture, there are always plant pests, pests that are eating your plants that are bound and determined to eat your harvest. So what we do is we give farmers an alternative to pesticides. So you don't have to use the chemicals to get rid of the pests, but we can use biology. We can use predators and parasites, parasitic wasps, parasitic flies, and also predators that are going to go up and just take a bite out of the pests to go after these detrimental insects that farmers don't want on their farms. So how do I share my screen to show a video if we were to do a tour? How do I do that?
I know. I'm looking. So on mine, there's a bot at the bottom. It says present now. Do you see that? Are you able to see that?
I do. I see it.
Okay. So I think then you can just click on that.
How about
I hope.
Best for video and animation. All right, guys, bear with me. We are going to go to a video, and I'm going to show you kind of the first room that we do here at the insectary. And we are going to look at some beneficial insects. All right, so let's do this one.
I don't see your screen yet.
Not yet. I haven't hit share yet.
Okay.
You see it?
There? Yes, we can see it. Yay.
All right. Okay, so there really isn't any sound. This is the alleyway to the insectary when you show up. This is Fly Alley. So a lot of what we do is beneficial insects for fly control, and that happens down this alleyway. So we'll visit a little bit more about fly control. But first up is this room on the corner here. This is the Lindorus room. So one of the insects that we grow is a tiny little coccinellid, a little beetle related to ladybugs. So it's kind of a little round beetle. And it eats scale insect. So inside this room, we have just rows and rows and rows of butternut squash. And on each of these squash, we'll get up a little bit closer so you can see it. Maybe. There we go. So squash are usually nice and orangey colored. These are all crusty gray. You can see they're kind of patchy. All of the gray material on there, that is the pest insect called scale. And so what we do is we grow a tiny little beetle, those little black dots. I have a jar for them, a jar of them on my desk here, so I'll show you them in a minute. So all those little black dots are little beetles that we collect off of there. And I've got a coworker in here in the room with me, and he'll show you how we collect. It's just with a little vacuum and a hand aspirator, and we go around. Are we a little bit closer? And so what we'll do is we'll just hand vacuum them up. So he's got the little vacuum right there, and he's just going around and sucking up the beetles one by one. And we collect them in a little jar. And then we sell them all over the country. So stop sharing. Is it full screen? Now, are we back to this classroom platform? Did we get back?
Yes.
Hooray!
Yes.
Okay, so now live and in person. Now you'll have to tell me because I can't see myself anymore. I just see you guys. So here, can you see inside that jar? Tiny little black beetles. Let me see if I can open it up. There's one right there on the lid.
We see that one.
Now let's go inside the jar. You see
There.
inside the jar?
Mm-hmm.
So that's shaved wood, Excelsior, so they're not just all standing on top of each other. But those are teeny tiny little beetles. Get back in the jar. Back in the jar. So that's what we do. We grow lots of different kinds of insects. Bees are great. We love bees too. In fact, our pest control advisor, one of the owners here, he is a bee fanatic. And he's got a couple of hives out front. And one of the things that he really loves to do is if people have a beehive in their bushes out in the yard, he's also gotten calls where people have bees living in the wall inside their house. And so he'll go out there, he'll put on his big bee suit and get all of his equipment out, and he'll go and actually try and extract the bees from the home or from the bush or the tree that they're in. And he'll bring them back to the bug farm and try and get them to establish in one of our hives here. So we're big fans of bees. Bees are great. And with that, I would like to talk about something that is very important in biocontrol. So biocontrol, biological control of pest insects. A lot of our insects, okay, time out. Who do you think of if I say, name me a beneficial insect, a predator, somebody that's going to be in the garden eating pests? Can somebody shout something out in the chat? Who do you think of? What insects come to mind? Garden snakes? Yes, snakes are amazing. Let's stick to the insect world. What insects come to mind? Beneficial insects. Grasshoppers? Good guess. Grasshoppers are actually a pesky pest. So that's one that we get a lot of people calling about to get rid of because they do a lot of damage to your vegetable gardens. Yes, John Gleason, ladybugs. That's what I was trying to get you guys to go for. Seems like everybody thinks of ladybugs. Ladybugs are kind of the poster child for biocontrol. I'm here in Ventura. I don't know where all you guys are, but we have Green Thumb, the garden store. And right by the checkout where you normally find candy bars, you find bags of ladybugs just hanging there. So I need them for my tomatoes. Actually, John, part of my job is to talk people out of ladybugs. So let's talk about ladybugs for a second. Everybody picture a ladybug in your head. Has anybody ever seen this? Can anybody tell me what this is? That is a baby ladybug. That is a ladybug larva. So if you see these in your garden, don't squish them. They are wonderful. They are fantastic predators. They'll go after mostly aphids. They really, really like aphids, but they do go after different soft-bodied insects. So I told you that part of my job is to discourage people from getting ladybugs. And what we instead like people to get is lacewing, green lacewing. Can you pull up a picture of green lacewing larva to share with the class? Is that possible? That is one picture I couldn't find when I was digging through my pictures this morning.
I will look.
All right. So while we wait for that, green lacewing, they look very similar to the ladybug larva. They have that kind of little alligator shape, and they're going to kind of cruise up and down through your garden. There was actually a team of students who wanted to research this because they'll spend 2 weeks in their larval stage before they spin their pupa, their cocoon, and they go through metamorphosis and they turn into the adult green lacewing. But so there was a team of 2 students that wanted to watch and see how far these larvae go as a larva. And so what they did was they kind of tagged each other in and out, and they followed this poor little larva with a piece of chalk. Oh, this is perfect. That is a great picture. So this is a picture of a lacewing larva. That's the larva on the right. On the left is the poor little caterpillar that it is devouring. What they have is, you can kind of see right there on the top, it's little a little pincher on either side of the jaw. They've got two pinchers, one on each side. And so when they come across a larva, a caterpillar, an aphid, or anybody soft-bodied, if they can catch up to it, they're going to try and take a bite out of it. So what they do is they take those pinchers and they grab it and they hold it still. And then they've got a little straw-like mouth part that they jab into the insect, and they inject digestive enzymes. So it kind of turns all of its body to goo. And then it drinks up all those body liquids and then tosses the dead body off to the side and goes on looking for another one. Some of them will even toss the dead aphids onto their back so they can more easily sneak into aphid populations. They're so amazing. But so for 2 weeks, they'll roam through your garden. And there was a student team that took a piece of chalk and followed one larva for 2 weeks. And then they would measure all their little chalk lines. When one got tired, they'd tag in their partner. 7 miles is how far this teeny tiny little larva travels up and down and around your garden looking for things to eat. So while ladybugs are fantastic, most people's experience is they release the ladybugs and they all just kind of fly away. The lacewing don't have wings. So for 2 weeks, they've got to roam around your garden looking for things to eat. Then after 2 weeks, they're going to spin their pupa, their cocoon. They're going to turn into the adult green lacewing. Now, what's really important, and this is an important point about a lot of different biocontrol insects, is in their adult stage, a lot of them are not predators. They need nectar and pollen from flowering plants. So one of the really important things that we try and convince the adults of all the time when we're teaching them how to do this in their gardens is, that's great that you've got a vegetable garden, but what you really need is some flowering plants around. Even if it's just, so we've got dill and cilantro and parsnips and parsley. So you can have little pockets of herbs that you let go to flower, because those are going to draw in all of the native beneficials that are already around in your yard and help them do good work for you. So adult green lacewing, not predators. They need flowers. Now, one really cool thing, if you're out there looking for lacewing in your garden, is look for the eggs. So you'll see them oftentimes hanging on the undersides of leaves upside down, but they're on this long silk filament because, as I mentioned, we kind of glossed over it, but lacewing in their larval stage, they're wonderful predators. Anything soft-bodied, they will try and eat, which means their brothers and sisters, they will try and eat. So Mother Nature has figured this out, and when she lays the eggs, she lays them on a long silk stalk. So when one larva hatches, it's got to walk all the way down that stalk before it gets to the leaf surface. And then all of its brothers and sisters are dangling high above it, so a better chance for survival. So that's really important. Now, let's do another tour bit because I want to show you guys fly control. So half of our business is fly control. Can you see that? Does that show up well?
I can see it great.
It's a jar full of flies. Flies are pesky. Nobody likes flies. So what we grow is a tiny little wasp. You can see that there. Teeny tiny little wasps, like the size of ants with wings, that go after the flies in their pupal stage. So this is parasitism. So what we have is a wasp that uses its stinger as an egg layer. So what it does is these tiny little wasps wait for our maggots to turn into pupa. So we have rooms and rooms and rooms of maggots. Can you guys see this? So these are baby flies. They're babies.
Oh,
They're
my
maggots.
goodness. That's wild.
See, this is what you're really missing out on not being here. We'd make you all hold this.
Oh my gosh. Is this on the field trip too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So if you can see what I'm holding here, to my hands, are my hands in there? My hand and my thumb?
Yes, a little bit.
So we've got maggots here. And then as you can see, these little brown pellets, I guess, for a lack of a better descriptor, these are the pupal casings. These are the cocoons. These are what they spin, just like a caterpillar spinning a cocoon to turn into a butterfly, except it's a little less glamorous. This is a maggot spinning a pupa, spinning a cocoon to go through metamorphosis to then come out as a fly. Okay, so do we have our basic life cycle down? Now, when the maggots spin their pupa and get to that cocoon stage, the pupal stage, that's when the wasps attack them. The wasps don't care about flies. The wasps don't care about the maggot stage. Not interested. They're waiting until they spin that cocoon, the pupa. Then they take their little stinger, because they're wasps, and they sting that pupa. They drill a hole inside of it, and they lay an egg inside of there. So now their baby wasp is inside that cocoon with the maggot. The baby wasp feeds off of that poor little maggot, doesn't stand a chance, eats it from the inside out, and it develops into a full-grown wasp, and then it comes out another wasp to keep the whole cycle going again. Make sense? Have I lost anybody? Okay, now let's do another video. So this is, hang on, I haven't hit share yet. Adult fly room. So we're back in Fly Alley. Wandering down Fly Alley. Now we're going to turn here and we're going to go into the adult fly room. So inside there's Steve again. He's going to help show us what we're doing.
We're not seeing it yet. I'm not sure why.
Uh-oh.
It says you're presenting.
But you don't see it.
Oh, you see it? Maybe it's just me. Sorry. Carry on. Maybe I did.
All right. Okay, we'll carry on.
Okay.
Okay, so Steve is, well, Steve was reaching in. Those are water jars. We're going back to Steve. Steve is reaching into an adult fly cage. In each of these cages, we have about 60,000 flies. That is literally a chicken waterer. People buy it for their chicken flocks. So that's a way that we can give the flies water without having them drown. And we'll take a closer look at those. This is just a super fun shot going inside the fly cage. So really, we keep the flies in here for egg laying. That's the whole point of this room. Now let's see. Can I just click over and do another one? Can you see me sharing a second video?
I think you need to
go back out.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's do stop presenting. Hello again. Okay, let's try this again. Chrome, adult fly 2, share, full screen. All right, do you see my chicken waterer again?
Yes, we see it.
Here we go. Okay, so back in the fly room. So what we do, these chicken waterers, they're just jars filled with water, and there's cotton on the bottom so that the flies have a spot to land and drink the water and not drown. Then back here, what I've got are basically yogurt cups or cottage cheese cups with more cotton. But when we really want to stimulate them to lay a lot of eggs, we put evaporated milk in there. So there's liquid milk in there for them. And that gives them a lot of the protein and nutrition they need to make a whole bunch of extra eggs for us. That's also the master controls for our hot waters. We use solar panels and hot water to heat all of our insect rooms. Okay, so that's the extent of that. Let me Stop presenting. Hello again. And now we're going to go into the most exciting room that I wish you were all here in person to see. This is one of 3 maggot rooms. So since we grow the wasp, we need to grow its host material, its food material, to be able to support it. So we grow millions and millions and millions of maggots every single day. So this is what it looks like to grow maggots. These are basically kitty litter pans. We bought a bunch of kitty litter pans. Then we have rice hulls and milk replacer and a couple other ingredients for the media mixture. Now, maggots don't eat solid food. So every day somebody comes in here and waters this media twice a day to wet it down and start the decomposition process, because that's what the maggots are feeding on. They're feeding all of the bacteria and fungi. Yeah, sorry, I'm still figuring out the zoom on this camera. But inside all these pans are little wiggly, squiggly maggots. And we will get about, from each one of these pans, we'll get about 32 ounces of maggots. So almost a full quart of maggots comes out of each of these pans. That's kind of interesting to think about, like a big soup jar full of maggots. What's really bad is there's definitely an odor, we'll just say that, with growing flies and maggots. And once you work in these rooms for a little bit, a couple hours, you really don't notice it anymore. So then when you leave to go home and you think, oh, I'll just pop by the store and pick something up real quick. Yeah, no, you get some really funny looks.
That's hilarious. I want to ask
you don't think about it.
I took students on a field trip last year to the UC Hansen Center, or 2
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago. And her name's Anna, and she's an entomologist, and she was doing Maggot Research. Do you know her?
Yep.
Okay.
Anna Howell, she's amazing.
Howell. Yeah, she was wonderful. And so I just want to tell the students, and so she was doing this project, and we're going to talk to someone else from the Hansen Center this summer, in a week or 2, I think. But anyway, her research was about this maggot that basically was, it's spreading amongst blackberries. And so at the center, it's in Santa Paula, they planted these like blackberry farms, or sorry, blackberry like rows and bushes. And anyway, on the field trip, we had the students, like, she taught us how to open up the berries and look for the maggots inside the berry, which I didn't think the kids would want to do it, but they did. And it was so much fun. And but anyway, I'm just wondering, like, are there, and this isn't even something we thought to ask, but do you think that there's like a predatory insect that could have like helped in that situation, helped with that?
There definitely are. So that sounds like the spotted winged Drosophila that she's working on. And there are a lot of predators for that, especially there are lots of ground beetles and different things that do go after them when they drop out and pupate outside of the berry. So let's back it up a second, because I want to show you guys. So back here at the bottom of our tray, so all of the maggots on the 5th day, so the maggots will grow for 5 days. And on the 5th day, we go in and we flood the pans, literally fill them up with water. The maggots don't want to drown to death. So the poor little things crawl up and out the sides, and they fall into these collection trays at the bottom. So we don't even have to sift through that gunk to get them out of there. So that's 2 rows, 2 little spoonfuls of eggs going into a fresh pan to start the whole process over again. But over here, what Steve's about to reach into, these are pans and pans full of maggots. So that is a handful of maggots that he has right there. And once we open back up from Corona, I'll send around notifications and things like that for when we do tours, because that is super fun to hold a handful of maggots. And I don't know where else you'll get that opportunity. So
oh, I don't think we can see it. Is it just me, students?
Can you guys see it?
No, I can't see it this time.
Oh, no. All right, let's try that again. Let's go back. This is the best part. Okay.
Now we can see it.
All right. So that is the collection tray where they jump out of. So here are the trays they're growing in. They jump out of the trays when we flood the pans, and they collect themselves in these bottom screens.
Wow.
Then over here, that is 2 spoonfuls of eggs in a fresh pan to start the whole process over again. Then here's Steve reaching into just a tray full of maggots. It's super fun. And then over here, he's reaching into, these are the maggots after they've spun their cocoon, their pupa, their pupal casing. So they are safely, most of them, you can still see there's some little white ones in there that are lagging behind, but most of them are all spun and ready to go. We go across the alleyway here to another maggot room. I don't remember if we see anything interesting in this side or not. We've got 3 full rooms growing maggots in the summertime. There's Jose working in the back. Yep, more maggots. Okay, let's see. Let me unpresent and do hello again. Okay, I've got one more video. And the share. Okay, can you see the door marked MZ?
Yes.
Excellent. Now this, okay, so these are our wasps. This is one species. We grow 3 species of wasps here. This is Mucitiferax zaraptor is its Latin name, which is why we painted MZ on the door, because it's a heck of a lot easier. So see if we can go inside here. There we go. This is a fly parasite room. So all of these long skinny boxes, these are the sting cages. These are the cages inside where we put the fresh pupae, the maggots that have just spun their pupal casing. And then we put all the brand new wasps in there, all the wasps we're going to have sting them. And then all these buckets over here, these contain the wasps. So the brown stuff in the bottom, those are big piles of pupal casings from which the wasps are hatching. So every day we have to collect more wasps to keep in with the system. Otherwise, well, so their life cycle is 21 days. So if we didn't keep feeding, I'm pointing at some fuzzy wasps. If we didn't keep feeding more wasps back into the system after 21 days, we would get to the end of their life cycle, and that would be it. So here's Steve again showing us how we do this. So we've got these shaker trays. The best way I can describe it is like you're sifting for gold. They've got screens in the bottom. So we pour in a bucket with all those pupal casings, and then we kind of sift it and shake it over a vacuum with a bag. And we're looking down into the bag right now. And those are all of the wasps that Steve collected from shaking that container with the pupal casings. So that's how we separate the product that has already been parasitized and already has the wasps inside and is ready to now sell to our clients. And that's how we pull off the wasps that we want to keep working for us with the next batch of pupal casings. Then over here on the side, we put everything into boxes. That's our quality control step. And we'll make sure that nothing hatches out as flies. So Steve's got a little bag full of wasps here. And then that goes in with more pupa to start the whole process over again and keep stinging more. So we're constantly producing a certain amount of product that goes out for sale. And then every day, a little bit of that comes back into the production room. So we keep extending the life cycle. All right. Oops. Now let's go back here. Okay, so again, there are the wasps. So it's really interesting when we're talking to people that call us that want to get help controlling their flies. They want to get rid of their flies around their horses, but they don't want to do it with poisons. And so our job is to try and convince them, okay, we're going to help you get rid of your flies, and we're going to send you a bag full of wasps to do it. So most people, when you say that, they think, you're going to send me a bag full of yellow jackets or, hornets. No. These guys are the size of ants. They don't hurt anybody. They don't bother pets or children or anything like that. They're just looking for flies. Oops, I'm dumping ladybugs. So, we grow bugs. What questions do you have?
John asks, how many maggots do you grow each year?
Oh, gosh. Each year, well, we grow about 2 to 3 million a day times 7 days a week times 52 weeks a year. I'll let you do that.
Many.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And where are the numbers again?
2 to 3 million a day. Well, and it gets a little funny because it's kind of a bell curve, if you're familiar with a bell curve, but we are a seasonal business. So we sell our bugs all over the country, definitely here in California, but we ship them all over the United States. So for part of the year, a lot of the country is under snow and really doesn't have fly problems or other kind of pest problems because there are no vegetable gardens for a few months out of the year. So about August, we start slowing down and we start closing down those gavetas and just kind of shrinking down our production. And then once we get to November, December, we're just at maintenance levels. So we just maintain the cultures and keep the insects alive and safe and healthy. And then once January and February hits, we ramp back up in production and we scale back up to summertime needs. So it changes a little throughout the year.
Julissa is asking if it's hard to grow, to do what you do. Or describe something that is hard, maybe like some challenges you guys have.
Some challenges. Okay, so one year when I was early on here, the heat went out in the adult fly room, and it was in the winter time, and you would think, winter in California, it doesn't get that cold. Well, it got cold enough to kill our flies. So our entire adult fly culture was dead. That took 3 months to restart. So if you think about those being your chickens and your egg layers in your operation, we lost all of our chickens, lost all of our hens. So we had to start over. We had to divert some of those maggots. We had to allow them to mature into adult flies instead of parasitize them and turn them into wasps for sale. So just to restart that side of it, 3 months.
Wow.
That is a challenge. Diseases, insect diseases, those are definitely challenges because we can't lose our insect cultures. That's our job. A challenge you might not think of, every single day, somebody has to be here to take care of, to feed and water, to change out the insects. So Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, New Year's, your birthday, everybody has to be here, or somebody has to be here every day to make sure the bugs are taken care of.
How did you get into growing bugs? How did you get into this work? Well,
I've always loved insects. I'm actually from Indiana, and when I was in college, I was working as a butcher. My first college was culinary arts and doing chef stuff. So I really loved meat cutting, so I was still butchering. And going through school to do more sciencey stuff because I really wasn't fulfilled with the cooking. It wasn't enough for me. So I went back to school for more science. And I was still butchering, and I didn't know what I was going to do for a job. And one of my teachers, he said, out in California, there are places called insectaries that actually grow bugs. What? He got my attention with that. I wasn't paying attention. So I went down to the computer lab and I Googled insectary, and no kidding, I found 5. There are 5, at least. There are tons more than that. Google came up right away with 5 different insectaries. And so Rincon Vitova, the one that I work for, they actually had a summer internship posted. So I sent over my resume because what was I going to do for the summer except, keep making hamburgers. So I went home and I actually called the company because the time difference, and I talked to the owner. We talked a couple of times and they offered me the summer position. And so I came out here for the summer and I never left. So I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun working with agriculture. It's a lot of fun, the different kinds of calls that come in. So that's a challenge, but it's also a really thrilling, exciting challenge. When I started, it was very much hands-on and growing the bugs and doing the dirty work. But they kind of snatched me up and brought me into the office to do customer service and do more of the administrative stuff and run the business side of things. So a lot of what I do in the day-to-day is just waiting for this phone to ring and saying, you know, hi, what can I help you with? What are your problems? It's never the same thing. It's kind of scary some days because you think, oh my gosh, what's going to be on the other end of that phone call when I pick it up? But it's always a puzzle. It's always a challenge. And a lot of times you learn something really cool. So I love it.
So when you got the internship, did you like go back to school to study bugs, or what do you recommend for the students who are interested in like a study of bug?
So you absolutely can. I did biology and chemistry, and it was, you know, in my last 2 weeks that I heard about insectaries. Who knew? And I had wanted to switch over and transfer and go with an entomology degree, which entomology is the study of bugs. And I had some really bad advice from an advisor who probably shouldn't have been an advisor. But what I've come to learn and come to realize now that I've been in the industry for a while is the folks that go on and do the entomology degrees, they're the ones that are really focused on the research and want to really dig into the nuts and the bolts of, you know, why this insect does this or what can we do to do this insect. But out here in California, especially, there's this really cool program called PCA, Pest Control Advisor. And they're quite literally doctors of agriculture. It's a very serious field. There are programs like over here at Channel Islands, they have a degree program or a certificate program that's specifically set up so you can get the prerequisite courses that you need to be able to take the exam, because there is a state exam where you have to prove, you have to read through a textbook and, you know, be able to answer some questions and be able to prove that you understand the principles of IPM and biocontrol. IPM is integrated pest management. So it's least toxic approaches to pest control. You know, we're not just pulling out the Roundup the first time we see a weed or a pest, that kind of a thing. So it will guide you through this kind of paradigm and what you're learning about least toxic pest control. And it will also, the PCA program gets you ready for that state exam where you prove that you know the IPM principles. And also it teaches you about the different ins and outs of the chemicals. Because one thing that a PCA does is a PCA is legally bound. They write basically prescriptions for farmers. If a farmer comes to them with a horrible pest problem and they say, you know, I've tried everything, I need to use this chemical. The PCA is the person that writes the prescription within the bounds of the law in the Department of Pesticide Regulation. So there is a program out there, Pest Control Advisor, where you can get very, very deeply involved in agriculture and pest control. And it's a really serious job. These people can make a lot of money. It's very, very lucrative.
Let's see. Stephen, what's your favorite bug? Asks.
Oh my gosh, you're going to limit me to one? That's not fair. Okay, I come from Indiana. I love lightning bugs, fireflies. So you may not be aware of what they are. I encourage you to look them up because they're awesome.
They are
awesome. But that's what we would do in the summertime is we would catch fireflies. I also love cicadas because they are the epitome of summer to me, that, you know, sound they make. Again, you guys don't have too many cicadas out here. I love assassin bugs. If you're familiar with assassin bugs, they're really, really cool. Let me dismiss this notification. I don't like earwigs. Don't ask me why. They have always creeped me out. They're harmless. They do not crawl in your ears. They don't use those pinchers for anything. It's just some phobia since I was a child. I don't like them. Creep me out.
Let's see. John wants to know, for the green lacewing larvae, would they go after the hornworms?
Absolutely. Yes. Especially when the hornworms are young. Once they get to be, you know, big, fat, honking caterpillars, no, chances are not very good. Once you get to caterpillars of that size, what you're looking for, go to the garden store and ask for Bacillus thuringiensis, BT. But be careful because there's a BT for mosquitoes and fungus gnats. That's BTI. The BTK is the one you want for caterpillars. Very, very safe. It's only a caterpillar pathogen. It's a gut pathogen. So once they feed on the leaves, they get it inside them. It makes them stop feeding. But it's not harmful to any of your other beneficials, kids, pets, nothing like that.
So I have another question about the hornworm. So
How long does it take to grow?
I'm not sure if Jalissa is asking. Jalissa, you want to know how long it takes to grow bugs, or how long does it take to study what she studied? Which, or what do you mean?
I mean, how long you take it for, like, how long is it
to do the process that she showed us in the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so the maggots, we'd lay those eggs. We lay 2 spoonfuls of eggs in the tray, and we grow the maggots for 5 days. Then on the 5th day, we flood those pans, and they all climb out and over. So then for 1 day after that, they spin the cocoon. So we're at 6 days now. Then on the next day, we'll take all those little red cocoons and we'll take them into the production room. They stay inside the sting cages for 2 days. All right, I'm going to lose count. Somebody keep a tally. So we're at 8 days now. So they stay inside the sting cages with the wasps for 2 full days. Then we separate the wasps from the parasitized pupae and we reuse the wasps again. The ones that are already parasitized go into those boxes for quality control to make sure we got all the flies. Because what we don't want is to send flies to our customers. So they stay in the boxes for 10 to 12 days based on where we're at in the production cycle and if we're a little behind or a little ahead. We try to keep it at 10 days, but sometimes it goes to 11 or 12. Then on the 10th or 11th day, they get pulled out of those boxes, washed with hose and water, stuck under fans to dry. Then they get bagged up with wood shavings and put into the cooler. And right now we're at about, so if we put them into the cooler, what's today, Wednesday? Those that go into the cooler today will probably get bagged up next week. Let me look at my calendar. And probably shipped on Monday the 27th. Yeah, that's about where we're at right now. Okay, so who was counting? How many days was that? It was 8, and then they went into boxes for 10 days. So that was 18 days. And then maybe another 14 days in the cooler. Anywhere from 7 to 14 days in the cooler. We try not to keep too much in the cooler where we're just kind of sitting on it and slowing down their development. Is you can put bugs, okay, I say this, but I never want you to do this. You can put bugs into the cooler if it's a very specific temperature because you kind of want to, so this whole time this jar of flies has just been sitting here buzzing around on my desk. There's only so much energy that they have in them, obviously, just like us. Until we go eat lunch, we've only got so much energy stored from either breakfast or dinner the night before. Same thing with insects. These guys were taken out of their cage, taken away from their food. So there's only a limited amount of stored energy they have. So if we want to kind of extend that, we can slow them down a little bit by putting them into a cooler, not a fridge. Fridge where we're at 40 to 45 degrees, that is way too cold for bugs. But a cooler where we slow them down to about 50 degrees or 55 degrees, and they'll just stop buzzing around as much and stop wasting their energy. So that's what we do with the wasps.
Interesting. So a farm contacts you and then they say, like, I have this, they describe their problem and you guys kind of give a prescription, like you were saying, okay, this is our solution. Have you ever encountered a bug problem that you guys can't solve? Like, you sure? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tons of them, tons of them. And so another thing that we have to really coach people through is that biocontrol and IPM and, you know, all this stuff using beneficials, we're never going to eradicate your pests. So some people come into this thinking, oh my God, my roses have aphids. I'm not going to be happy until I see no more aphids anywhere.
No, you just muted yourself somehow. I don't know how.
It might be my web. Crappy
You're back.
webcam. Okay, here we go. So, what was I saying? Aphids, no more aphids. The problem with thinking I've got to get rid of every single aphid is the aphids, the pests, they're the food source for a lot of these beneficials. And that's what we really need to wrap your brain around, is that you're using bugs to eat other bugs. So if we completely eradicate all of our bugs, we're eradicating the food source that is drawing in the beneficials that are there to help you eradicate the food source. I know it's kind of circular, but does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah.
So here is a really fun picture. Anytime I talk to anybody with aphids, I always send them out to look for aphid mummies. So here's your homework from Kyra. When you're bored this afternoon, Google aphid mummies. It's the coolest thing ever. So what's happening out there is there are tons of native wasps. So somebody told me that of all the bugs, or I read this somewhere, I don't know, of all the bugs that are out there, somewhere between 1% and 3% are actually bad guys. Everybody else is just doing their own thing or is there to help us in some way, a beneficial insect of some sort. So think about that. We don't need to see a bug, kill a bug all the time. But these are a great example. This is naturally occurring wasps. And so what they do is, you know, you can see she's got her little butt tucked under and she's using her stinger to sting this aphid. So exactly what we're doing with the fly parasites. This is a parasitic wasp who is parasitizing this aphid, who's laying an egg inside of it. Then what's going to happen is that aphid is going to turn into an aphid mummy, and it's going to swell up and turn kind of opaque. You can't see through it anymore. It's going to get kind of tan colored. It's going to be basically an incubation chamber for a baby wasp. So this baby wasp is going to be inside there feeding on that poor helpless aphid. And when it's fully grown, it's going to chew a tiny little hole. So when you look up aphid mummies, I also want you to look for the tiny little hole in the rear end of the mummy, because that's where the wasp, when she's fully grown, she's going to chew an exit hole and fly out and continue the whole process. Yeah, it's kind of, you can clearly make out a wasp there. But so if we were to get rid of every pest, and here's the problem with the chemical pesticides, because a lot of the chemical pesticides do just that. They go in with these heavy chemistries and they wipe out all of your pests and all of your beneficials. So you're left with this ground zero, this nuclear hot zone where everything's been just zapped. And what happens then? But all of the pests left in the periphery or in your neighbor's yards, they've just got this wide open space to come on in and start feeding because you've wiped out all the beneficials too. So we really need people to understand that this is a balance. And what we're going to do, what we're going to prescribe is going to be probably a list of a couple of different things. Yeah, we're going to tell you you can put lacewing out there. Yeah, you know, you could put ladybugs if you wanted to watch them all fly away. But a lot of times, in addition to that, that means planting flowers to attract in the natives. That means talking about our soil food web, all of the goodies that are happening below the surface to help build nice, rich, healthy soil that plants grow healthy in from the beginning, and ant control. We can't say enough about ant control. So some of our favorite pests, like aphids or the scale insect that we saw on those butternut squash in there, they're what we call honeydew producers. So your scale, your whitefly, your aphids, your mealybugs, some psyllids, and some thrips, They all have little straw-like mouth parts, and while they're sucking up your plant juices and just making little knots and holes and spots in your plants, that's way too much carbohydrate for them. So they're constantly pooing out sugar water. And it's sugar water called honeydew, and ants love it. Ants will fight off beneficials. We've seen them duke it out with ladybugs because they desperately want to protect the aphids and that honeydew, that food source that they're producing. So that's mutualism. That's two different insects. You've got ants providing protection for the aphids who are providing food for the ants. So one thing we talk a lot about with people is how can we knock out those ants so all we're left with are the aphids to deal with. And a lot of times when we can do that, we can better infiltrate with the beneficial insects because the pests are no longer being protected.
That's fascinating.
It really is. I think
It
so
is.
too.
It is. Other questions.
What else?
Let's see. What would you say? So are there certain types of farms that purchase from you guys and certain types of farms that just don't, would you say?
Oh, yeah. And it's so varied. It's unbelievable. So we've definitely got, well, for the fly control, we do a lot of animal processing plants where cows go in and beef comes out, or chickens go in and chicken comes out. So that's a big part of that business. A lot of horse race tracks, interestingly enough, use the fly parasites. So that's a pretty fun aspect of it. We've got a lot of dairies that use it. In terms of the plant protection, so we call it fly control and plant protection. In terms of the plant protection farms, yes, we've got big organic farms that's all that they do is use bugs and use other kinds of things like that. There are botanical and soft pesticides, different materials out there that do fall under the umbrella of allowable and organic, because just because it's organic doesn't mean they don't spray things on it. What that means is the things that they do spray on it are organically derived. They come from natural sources. So there's a little bit of a misconception there. But yes, we have a lot of organic farmers. We've got a lot of customers that are transitioning to organic, that don't want to use the crummy stuff anymore and that want to do more natural and sustainable things. We've also got a lot of homeowners. So kind of our mission is, if you're looking for a way to get off the nasty stuff, we're here to help. So we want to see more people off the nasty stuff.
Cost-wise, do you think it's more or less expensive for farms to use beneficial insects versus like sprays? Pesticides?
Very good question. So it can definitely be more, especially depending on where they're coming from. If they've been conventional for years and years and years, and they've trashed their soil food web, we right side up, and they have nothing going for them, and they don't have any kind of habitat, any kind of flowering plants. If we're starting from ground zero, it is going to be kind of an uphill battle a little bit, and it's going to be expensive in the first year. But what we tell people and what we see is true is that the longer they stick with this year after year after year, and the more, this year I'm going to plant habitat. Next year I'm going to focus on this. And they just start doing a little bit and start just thinking, what can I do a little bit better? Every year they're going to have to do less and less. So each year that you've got more of the soil food web in line and more of your flowering plants going, you're going to draw these things in naturally. I tell people at least on a weekly basis right now, as it is, as there's a lot of insects out there. There's one of my favorites, the minute pirate bug. It's a cute one. Look it up, Aureus. So Aureus is great. It loves to feed on all sorts of insects, but I tell people, don't buy the Aureus. The Aureus is expensive. Go to the nursery and buy some flowers. Buy a flat of alyssum. You will draw in all of the neighboring Aureus. Borrow them from your neighbors. So that's what we like to tell people.
That's excellent. I think for a lot of farmers who are skeptical or just unaware, I think their biggest concern is probably, oh, if I bring in these bugs, then I'm just going to have like some sort of bug infest. Like, I think it just takes a lot of education to flip that mindset of, you know, understanding that it is about biodiversity, and it is not just a one size kind of like a one-off prescription. It's incorporating, you know, like you said, a multitude of bugs that coexist symbiotically, and then also making sure your soil is healthy, and then also having the flowers and the natives and things like that. So yeah, it's really, really interesting.
And it is, you're right. The coaching is huge. And that we call it hand holding, because a lot of people come to this and they just have no idea. And it does. It just takes a lot of encouraging and saying, nope, you're doing the right thing. Just keep going with it. Because it's different. Most people are very reactive in their approach to gardening, and they go outside and they see a bug, they kill a bug. But what we're trying to get people to think about is the other way around. You know, let's think about, you know, what came last July? What did I see? When did I see my cutworms last year, John? Now let's be ready for them this year. Nematodes, by the way, John. Cutworms, nematodes.
That's what he needs for his cutworms. Okay. John has a backyard garden.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Let me check my contact info for you guys.
Oh, thank you.
We love getting buggy pictures.
We do.
If you can't, oops, that's an at, not a two. Hang on. At rinconvitova.com.
Students, do you guys have any more questions? This was really, really interesting. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. We love doing this.
Yeah, this was fun. Do you mind if I post it to my Instagram?
No, not at all.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. We are just out here. Are you guys all in the 805? Is everybody in the 805?
Yeah, we're in Oxnard.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so Rio Mesa is it's in the Oxnard area. So we're close by.
Whoa. When we open back up, you guys should definitely come over for a tour. So you can
I'd love to do that. Yeah. When the world is normal again.
It's super fun. But yeah, we love to answer questions. We love to troubleshoot. Nobody really even knows we're here. We've been here since the 70s, and nobody knows we're here. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Okay,
Learn lots.
Bye, Kyra. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, students. Good job today. So we'll just turn in notes, and that will be your assignment for today. Understood? Okay. Bye, guys. See you soon.